Turning our attention now to the Middle East, it's being claimed today officials from Israel's Atomic Energy Commission have held several meetings with Iran on nuclear issues. It is the first time in decades such talks have been disclosed. A commission spokesperson said the talks were organised by Australia and held behind closed doors in Cairo at the end of September. It's now being reported in Iran that its Atomic Energy Organisation has denied that the meetings took place. Live now to Jerusalem. We'll get the latest from a Middle East correspondent, Paul Wood. So, Paul, did anyone really know that these discussions were taking place?
Well, it's curious that the Iranians are denying it. The Israelis certainly say they took place, and these were not secret bilateral negotiations. This was a big international forum on non-proliferation, and Iran is a member, Israel is a member. It's entirely expected that they would both be in the same room together. There was apparently some kind of exchange of rhetoric between the two sides. The Iranians, it is reported in the Israeli press, asking the Israeli delegate, does Israel have nuclear weapons, yes or no? And the Israelis just smiled and said nothing to that. The assumption being, of course, that Israel has a substantial number of warheads, while Iran, it is claimed by the Israelis, is trying to acquire the first such weapon. So these were not negotiations, but still I think significant that they were in the same room together and discussing these issues.
Given the context of the past few months, though, does this mean that relations between the two countries are perhaps less fraught than the world was assuming they were?
No, not at all. This was a meeting back in September. Since then, of course, we have a proposed deal taking shape under which the Iranians would export uranium to be refined in Russia or elsewhere and then re-imported, and that, it is thought, would make it much more difficult to weaponize. That, it would seem, if this deal comes about, would be the solution to the whole crisis. But there is no jubilation or celebration in the Israeli government. They simply don't believe it. They're very suspicious of it. They want to see the details of the deal. And I guess the Israelis are worried they will be boxed in. Perhaps it will open them, the Israelis, to inspection of their nuclear facilities if the Iranians manage to pull off some kind of deal which Israel suspects would just be a cloak for what Israel believes is a continuing effort by Iran to develop a usable weapon. And significantly, one of the Israeli papers today, one of the very well-briefed journalists, was saying that the military option, as far as the Israeli government is concerned, is still very much on the table.
Paul, thanks very much.